So one summer they had a meeting. This is enough, we're going to follow these lights and see where they go. So they set off at the end of summer. As the lights formed into a single line and started to march in slow motion down towards the southern rivers of Canterbury, Waitaha sent off with 12, 6 young men and 6 young women, 2 weeks before the full moon, so it must have been new moon. Amazing how we know this thing. New moon, off they go. So about 4 days it would be into their journey, 5 maybe. They come to this river known today as Rakaia River, or Rakaia to people who've forgotten how to speak it properly. The Rakaia River was named after that same great navigator, Rakaihotu. And there they trace the grounds and the footsteps of the light-carrying people and can detect that these people have gone far inland up the river, so they follow these guys up the river. And they don't know whether the people of the lights don't know that they're being followed, or that they do know that they're being followed and are being extremely helpful, because every time they get to a part of the river that is very difficult to cross, they find stashed in the ropo bushes a mogi. A mogi is a boat made out of ropo reeds. And they find that someone has left them a ropo waka at every turn. Every time it's tough, something's there, and they would jump on their ropo waka and cross the river and keep on walking. Waitaha run out of food. Waitaha had only been in the land for 10 years. You have to remember that Waitaha was so new to the land that they'd come from a Polynesian society that the hunting of birds and the traditions relating to how you catch birds in New Zealand is completely different to the islands, and the cultivation of foodstuff is a completely different form of cultivation than in the islands, so they were doing it hard because they were very new here, and they weren't yet Māori because they were still Pacific Islanders, because they hadn't yet been bled open by the landscape, and until you're bled open by the landscape, you're still a Pacific Islander. And that's the difference. So they're walking up this valley, and they get to this point where the river splits into two, the Rakaia and the Rakaida, and they went up the river, and it's getting up to the alpine passes now. High above the bushline, beech trees are starting to kick in, cabbage trees are down below. I've been there. And they're walking up, and always these lights in front of them, tantalizingly close, always a day's march ahead. Never, just lights, not people. They can't see any people, they just see these bloody lights. And they're walking up and they run out of food, no food. And they're walking for maybe 3 days without any kai, and this is when it's getting really tough. When you start going up this very steep cliff face to the top of the Southern Alps. The Southern Alps known as Ngā Tiri o Te Moana, the backbone of the South Island. And after walking 3 days with no food, they're delirious and out of their minds. And just before you hit the summit of this pass, they stumble into a grove beneath the beach, and there before them is this humongous spread of aruhe ferns, pickled, birds, preserved. In front of them, in poha, in traditional preserving baskets made of bull kelp, of rimurapa, and these 6 young men and young women of Waitaha who have been following in the footsteps of the light bearers sit to devour this 5-course traditional Māori kai, not knowing that this food has been laced with a special form of sleeping poison. So they mac out and they all fall asleep. Now, our stories are always very vivid and are always told from the perspective of 2 peoples, especially in stories where 2 peoples are mixing like this. Traditionally, this is where the story would split into 2, and if I was around the campfire with my family, someone would take the story of the Waitaha people and someone would take the story of the light-bearing people, and we would develop a conversation and we would tell the story from both perspectives because we have both their blood in our bodies. And so from the Waitaha perspective it goes like this. We woke up and the first thing we noticed as we opened our eyes is that it was a full moon. And not only was it a full moon, it was a full moon at its zenith. So it was at the perfect point of rightness. That's when we woke up. Secondly, we had been shifted 100 metres further up the track and we were now lying on the sides of a small alpine lake, a lake known as Akareva, which is at the very top of the which is at the very top of the Arahura River and the Rakaia River. So the very top. They call that Browning's Pass, Nonoti. Thirdly, the third thing we notice is the smell. There's this incense burning and these aromatic flavors in the alpine air. So we look around and we see these lights and we're surrounded in a circle of lights, maybe 80 lights, all in a circle. It's an amazing story, true story too. 80 lights all in a circle and they're burning. These lights are now aromatic lights. They're burning special lights and it makes the lights different coloured and it gives off the smell of these barks, kowai bark, rimu, karaka, tikoka. They all smell good. So these smells are coming off and so we stand up and we say to these people, lay down your lamps. Kia kataui horane tō ramarama. Put down your lights. And so they did. And we saw them for the very first time. These people had hair like that. They had hair that was the colour of wee poo or mountain tussock. And their skin was white, like this, pale, very pale, not brown, white skin. First time we'd seen one of them. Oh my God, white skin. And their eyes, oratu karu atai kahuraki, kikoraki atai hina. Their eyes were either the colour of pounamu, clear blue skies, or deep grey oceans. Ero tā rātou kōrero, which means that when they spoke, their sound travelled omniphonically or stereophonically. They had these amazing abilities to communicate sound waves in all directions at once, and they were extremely telepathic. And they were very beautiful people. And so we called them Maeroero, which means the fair-skinned people with the gift of stereophonic sound wave projection. That's what it means. And we met each other, and it was a very happy time. All summer, there was lots of eating and lots of love-making, one with another and each one with one another, which was the old way, because it was just bodies. So the time come at the end of the summer to part our ways, and there's 3 passes you can go down from that lake, and we split into 3 groups and we went back to the different places that Eroero were from in their original language, Kili Pate, Kili Mogi, and another one that I've forgotten the name of, I can't pick it out. So they were very beautiful people. Now, every generation amongst the old tribes, you get one coming looking like this, out of 2 parents which are black as a bloody cat. And you get these kids, especially up the coast and Tuhoi and down south, that come out with these very light complexions, red hair, green eyes, slender fingers, extremely sensitive kids. And it's this Eroero gene coming back into our thing, into our kids. Nō reira, ki a ka mutu aruru a tia tēnei hau kōrero ki a koe te takata e tino marama ana, kaikara watu ki a mau i ngā raraka kōrero e pāna ki ngā paki waitara a memeha nōnehe e pāna ki tēnei whenua tāku. Kai raru I maru o mātou tipuna Eroero kairoka o mātou tipuna waitaha Māori umai nei imu atu rā, tūturu rā ka whiti whakamaua kia tīna. Tīna, hui e, haumi e, taiki. Kia ora. That's how it should be told, man. Woo! Bloody Māori are late for work now.